Hi guys, my name is Kate and welcome to Yoga with me. Today we're going to be doing a Soulful Vinyasa flow just to get the heat moving around our bodies a little bit and our heart pumping. So let's start in a comfortable seat with our eyes closed and just take a moment to breathe. Breathe normally, breathe naturally. And let's take a big deep breath in together and open our mouth and sigh it away. And let's do that again. Big deep breath in together and open our mouth and sigh it away. Now let your breathing come back to its natural rhythm. Don't force anything. Just feel the air moving in and out of your body. And on our next inhale, let's inhale to the count of 3, hold our breath at the top, and exhale to the count of 3, holding our breath at the bottom. And let's continue on in this rhythm. Inhale to the count of 3, hold at the top, and exhale to the count of 3, hold at the bottom. And repeat. And let's do that one more time. Inhaling to the count of 3, holding at the top, and exhaling to the count of 3, holding at the bottom. And after that exhale, let's allow our breathing to return back to natural, back to normal, and just let ourselves settle back into our bodies. Now let's get going, guys. We're going to come into a tabletop position on our hands and knees, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and we're going to move through some cat-cows. So inhale, arching our spine, looking up. Exhale, rounding our spine, looking down. Inhale, arching chest forward. Exhale, rounding our spine, looking back towards our knees. Inhale, head forward, chest forward. Exhale, rounding your spine. Inhale, looking forward, arching our back. Exhale, looking back and rounding our spine. Inhale, looking forward. Exhale, looking back. Coming back through our tabletop, we're now going to move our hips and our shoulders towards each other, making a U shape with our body to the left and then to the right. Then moving back to the left, bringing our hips towards our shoulders, creating that weird U shape, and then back towards the right, hips towards our shoulders. And then coming back into our tabletop, we're going to push ourselves back into a child's pose. Feet together, knees apart, and hands pressing into the mat. This is an active child's pose. During our active child's pose, our hands press into the mat, which means our elbows are coming off of the mat. We're working a little bit here, and we're still remembering to breathe. And then we're going to come back up onto our hands and knees and slowly push ourselves back into a downward facing dog. And take the time here to fix your hands, fix your feet, find the perfect positioning for your body. And we're going to walk out our down dog, working deep into our hamstrings and getting a nice stretch to the backs of our legs. And let's take a few breaths here. And we're going to come forward back into a child's pose again. So let's bring our feet together, knees apart, and this time we're going to relax. Take a moment, let your body sink into the mat, and this is a pose you can come back to anytime during our practice if you need to. It's always here for you. Let's take a few breaths here. And then we'll slowly come back to our hands and knees and push back into our downward facing dog. And down dog is an active pose here, guys, not a resting pose. We're pushing through our hands, we're pushing through our feet, we're working our shoulders and our back. No rest here. Now we're going to bend our knees. We're going to jump or step up to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, raise our hands up to the ceiling. And exhale, down by our sides in mountain pose. We're going to take a moment to breathe here. Every time we come to mountain, we're going to take a moment to breathe. On our next inhale, we're going to raise our hands up to the ceiling and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, plant your hands, step back into a high plank, slowly lower through chaturanga, pull through into an upward facing dog, and push back into a downward facing dog. On your next inhale, lift your left leg up in the air, step it through between your hands, and we're going to come up to a high runner's lunge. So the back heel of our back foot is pressing itself towards the mat. Our hands raise up to the ceiling, and we'll give a slight little back bend there, reaching backwards, bringing our hands down to frame our left foot and stepping back to our high plank, lowering through chaturanga, inhaling to upward facing dog, and exhaling to downward facing dog. On our next inhale, we're going to take our right foot up behind us, stepping it through between our hands. And we're going to raise up again to a high runner's lunge on the right side, pushing that back heel down towards the ground, reaching our hands up, and then back if you'd like for a slight little back bend there. We'll bring our hands back down to frame our foot, stepping our right foot back into our high plank, lowering through chaturanga, inhaling to upward facing dog, and exhaling to downward facing dog. On our next exhale, we're going to bend our knees, look forward, step or jump forward to the top of our mat. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, raising our hands all the way up to the sky, and exhale, down by our sides in mountain pose, and we're going to breathe. On our next inhale, we'll raise our hands up to the ceiling, and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant our hands, step back through plank, chaturanga, and inhale into an upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. On our next inhale, we're going to raise our left leg up behind us, stepping it through between our hands, coming up for our high runner's lunge again. We know what we're doing this time. Raising our hands up to the ceiling, pressing that right heel back towards the mat. Slight back bend if you'd like. Bringing our hands back down to frame our left foot and stepping back into our high plank. Slowly lower chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. Next inhale, right leg comes up behind us. And we're going to step it through between our hands. Coming up runner's lunge on the right side. Bringing our hands up towards the sky, pressing that left heel back down towards the mat. Slight back bend here. And then bringing your hands forward to frame our right foot, stepping it back to a high plank, lowering through chaturanga. Inhale to an upward facing dog. And exhale back through our downward facing dog. On our next exhale, we're going to bend our knees, look forward, jump or step forward to the top of our mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, raising our hands up to the sky. And exhale, mountain pose, and breathe. On our next inhale, we're going to raise our hands up to the ceiling. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift, look forward. Exhale, planting our hands, step back through high plank. Chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale through downward facing dog. On our next inhale, we bring our left foot up behind us, stepping it through between our hands. Runner's lunge one last time. You're all pros now. We're going to bring our hands up towards the ceiling, pressing that back heel down towards the mat. You've got it. Little back bend here. And bringing our hands forward, framing our left foot and stepping it back into a high plank, lowering through chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog, and exhale to downward facing dog. Our next inhale, we're going to bring our right leg up behind us, stepping it through high runner's lunge on our right side, lifting our hands up towards the ceiling, pressing that left heel back towards the mat. Last time here, slight back bend, and then bringing our hands forward to frame our right foot, stepping it back to our high plank, lowering through chaturanga, inhaling to upward facing dog, and exhaling to downward facing dog. On our next exhale, we're going to bend our knees, look forward, jump or step forward back to the top of our mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, raising our hands up to the ceiling. And exhale, mountain pose. And we breathe. On our next inhale, we're going to raise our hands up towards the ceiling, and this time we are going to sit down in our chair. You can have your arms however you like. I like mine in a cactus shape. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back into a high plank. Lower through chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. On our next exhale, lifting our left foot up behind us, stepping it through between our hands. Our right foot is going to turn parallel with the back of the mat, and we're going to come up in a warrior two. Chest faces forward, head looks toward the left hand, and we've got a deep 90-degree bend in our front knee. On our next exhale, we're going to reverse our warrior, bringing our left arm up overhead and reaching it towards our back right leg. Option to wrap your right arm around your waist. Back into warrior two. Turning, framing our left foot with our hands, stepping back into a high plank, lowering through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. On our next inhale, we'll lift our right leg up behind us, stepping it through between our hands, turning our left foot down and parallel with the back of our mat as we come up for warrior two on our right side. Remember, deep 90-degree bend in our front leg. On our next exhale, we're going to reverse our warrior, bringing our right arm up overhead and back towards our left leg. This is a side stretch, not a back bend. Coming back into our warrior two, we're going to turn, face our front leg, step back into our high plank, lower through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. On our next exhale, we're going to bend our knees, jump or step up to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sitting down in our chair. And exhale, standing up nice and tall, reaching our arms up. Mountain, hands down by our sides, and breathe. On our next inhale, we'll raise our hands back up to the ceiling. This time as we sit down in our chair, we're going to twist to our left side. Should have twisted right first so you could see it, but we live and we learn. Hands however you like. I've got mine in prayer. And we're going to exhale, twisting back towards our front, folding forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back into a high plank. Slowly lower chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. On our next inhale, we'll raise our left foot up behind us, stepping it through between our hands, turning our right foot down and parallel with the back of our mat, coming up to our warrior two again. Left knee 90 degrees. And this time we're going to move into our extended side angle pose. So the left hand can come down onto the left knee or hand down to the floor, reaching our right hand up overhead and reaching across our body for a nice side stretch down the right hand side. Back to warrior two. Turning forward, framing our foot with our hands, stepping back to high plank, chaturanga, inhale to upward facing dog, and exhale to downward facing dog. On our next inhale, raising our right leg up behind us, stepping it forward between our hands, coming up to our warrior two on the right hand side, left foot is down and parallel with the mat. Again, 90-degree angle in our front knee as we go for our extended side angle on the right side. You can bring your right elbow down to your right knee, or if you've got that deeper stretch in you, you can bring your right hand down to the floor. Left hand reaches up overhead and then across our body for a nice deep stretch on the left hand side. We're going to come back up to warrior two. And then turning to frame our right foot with both hands, stepping back to a high plank, chaturanga, inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. On our next exhale, we're going to bend our knees, jumper step forward to the top of the mat, inhale, halfway lift, exhale, fold forward. On our inhale, we're going to sit back and twist to the left in our chair. Again, my hands are in prayer. You can do whatever you like with yours. And we're going to stand up on the inhale, raise our hands up to the sky, and exhale, mountain pose. And breathe. On our next inhale, we'll raise our hands up to the ceiling and exhale to sit back in our chair that is twisted to the right. You can see on this side I can get my elbow onto the other side of my knee, which helps me twist further. On our next exhale, let's just fold forward, release everything. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant our hands, step back to high plank. Lower through chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. On our next inhale, raising our left foot up behind us to step it through between our hands, turning our right foot back and parallel with the mat into warrior two. 90-degree bend in that front leg. Then straightening the front leg, moving our right hip back in space, reaching forward with the left hand, and then tipping over like a teapot for a triangle pose. Our right hand is up in the sky, and we are twisting as much as we can towards the back of the room. Slowly coming up out of our triangle and right back into warrior two. We'll turn to face our left foot, planting our hands, stepping back to high plank, chaturanga, inhale to upward facing dog, and exhale to downward facing dog. On our next inhale, raising our right foot up behind us, stepping it through between our hands, coming up warrior two on the right side, 90-degree bend into that front knee. Now go ahead and straighten that front leg, pushing our left hip back in space, reaching forward with our right hand, and tipping at the waist like a teapot for a triangle pose on the right side. Again, we're twisting as much as we can towards the back of the room. Coming back up into our warrior two, 90-degree bend in that front knee. Turning to face the right foot, planting our hands, stepping back into a high plank, lowering through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. On our next exhale, let's bend our legs, jump or step forward to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sitting back into our last chair, twisted to the right. Inhale, standing up, reaching our hands way up to the sky. Reach, reach, reach. And exhale, mountain pose. And breathe. We're going to step our right foot back to open up into a wide-legged forward fold. Go down as far as you're comfortable with and do whatever you're comfortable with your toes. You can have them pointing forward. I like to point mine out. You can have yours pointing in, whatever works for your body. And we're just going to fold forward. We're going to slowly walk our hands over to our left foot, just to get a nice deep stretch across the right side of our body. And moving our hands back through center, we're going to walk them over to our right foot to get a deep stretch on the other side of our body. And moving our hands back through center, you can stay here, or option to bring our hands behind our back, clasping our hands and bringing them overhead to get a deep shoulder stretch here. Kind of let gravity do the work, letting your hands fall further back down. Releasing our arm bind if we have it. Bringing our hands back to the ground. We're going to move our feet in towards each other and find a nice deep squat. We'll bring our elbows to the insides of our knees to help push them out a little further and get a nice deep stretch down the inside of our thighs. Find some movement here if you're comfortable. Rocking backwards and forwards, side to side, whatever feels good for you. And we will eventually slowly lower our bum down to the ground and gracefully find a seat with our legs stretched out in front of us. This is a seated forward fold. It is an active pose, so our legs are working here. Our toes are pointed up towards the ceiling, and we'll fold forward and grab wherever you can reach. On our inhales, let's find some space in our body and fold more deeply. On our exhales, we'll move back a little bit away from the stretch. Moving with the breath, listening to our bodies will always help us get the best stretch. And we'll slowly move out of wherever we are in this stretch. We're going to leave our left leg out straight, tucking our right foot into the inside of our left thigh, Sitting up nice and straight, turning towards our left leg and folding over that leg. This stretch is still active like the other one, so our left toe is pointed up to the ceiling, and we're just reaching for wherever we can reach on that leg. Again, moving with our breath, finding space in our body. Coming up, we're going to switch legs. Right leg out straight, left foot tucked to the inside of the right thigh. Make sure we're sitting up nice and straight, turning towards the right leg, and folding forward. Again, that right foot is pointed up towards the ceiling, and we're just reaching for wherever we can reach on that leg. Moving with our breath, finding space where we can find space, and maybe letting go where we can't. Slowly start to move up out of that stretch. And we're going to come lying on our back and go through a few rock and rolls. So just rolling along our spine, rolling it out. Such a good feeling. This is one of my favorite things to do. And then find the happiest baby that you have inside of you. Grabbing your feet on the outside, rolling back and forward, feeling that nice stretch along your lumbar spine as you do. Maybe clap your feet together. We are happy babies after all. And then let those feet go. Find a nice, comfortable position to relax in. We are done, and you deserve it. Thank you so much for practicing with me today, guys. I will see you next time. Namaste.